Okay, you guys, so hot topic. So I want to say she was a teacher or just a, concerned parent or whatever, came out and said, if your daughter is in middle school wearing eyelashes and wigs, you're half the problem. So let's listen to what she had to say.
If your daughter is in middle school wearing a wig and lashes, you have the problem. I promise you, you're half the problem. If your daughter is in middle school and have a beauty supply budget more than your electric bill, and you stupid to do it. You crazy. 7th graders should be doing that anyway. If your daughter has a lace front and don't even own a library card, make that make sense. Make it make sense. She wearing meek eyelashes. Girl, go sharpen that pencil. In middle school, you shouldn't even be wearing no wigs and no lashes, that part. Some of them got a wig installed tighter than their math grade. You're installed tighter than your math grade. Make sure your grade's on point. But when you really think about it, some parents are raising an influence. That's what they're raising, an influence. That's what it is. But you can't find a pencil on Monday. Make that make sense. Middle school babies should be asking for snacks, not lace glue. You're buying lace fronts, but this report card come home looking like a crime scene. Y'all stupid. To be honest with you, middle school, they shouldn't even be wearing no wigs or lashes. That part, y'all make that make sense to me. Make it make sense, please.
Okay, so I thought that this was a good topic. And the reason why I sit up here and say that, because you do have a lot of opinions on when it comes down to the new generation and how they look and how they present themselves. I know that a lot of times we be kind of looking at kids and we be like, wow, I didn't do that until I was grown, or I didn't do that until I was a senior, and when I was when I did that, I'm saying, I can only wear a little bit of this and that. And all I have to say about this is that, because I'm not gonna lie, I agree with her on certain things, but this is what I'm gonna say about that. We are in a different time. And I now that I'm an adult and I'm grown and I have, kids or whatever, 2 girls and 1 boy, I'm able to speak on certain things that I feel like that even me as a parent of in this generation, I had to change my mindset. I had to change my mindset on a lot of things. First of all, we gotta come up with the times. I know it's hard, y'all. I know it's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, this lady in particular, she looked like she was a teacher. So she probably is a parent and a grandparent or whatever. So she's most likely speaking from experience and what she's seeing and stuff like that. She's coming from an education point. And I'm not even gonna lie, I totally agree with her. Yes, I do feel like that, we need to be mindful of how we present our kids and stuff like that. But we also need to understand that we definitely have to come up with the times. Now, do I feel like that a 14-year-old need to be wearing a lace front? No. I don't feel like they should be wearing a full-blown lace front bust down. I remember back in the day where wigs were considered old lady style. Like, I was in my early 20s wearing wigs, and I just remember it was like, oh my God, you such an old lady. Why would you be wearing wigs? You too young to be wearing wigs. Now, like she said, they 14. Now y'all letting middle schoolers walk up on the scene with a doggone lace wig. So I do feel like that's a little extreme. But you have to understand also, at probably 13 and 14, we probably was still wearing barrettes. Some people was probably still wearing barrettes, ponytails, and different type of kid-friendly hairstyles. So, but do you think that in the year of 2026 that is appropriate for a 14 and 13-year-old? No, I'm not trying to say if that's something that they want to do, that's cool. But we definitely do not want to sit up here and have a mentality where we're going to make our child suffer. And I ain't gonna say suffer, but I feel like suffer because they can't really, you know what I'm saying, like experience their own style and what they want to do and express themselves. We can't make our kids suffer when it comes down to their style, because we're so used to a one way of how they want to look. First of all, it's a lot of things that me personally as a parent that I don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to how my kids probably want to dress, how they want to look, how they want to wear their hair. And then I had to remember, I was a teenager once. How did I feel? And you're right. A lot of our parents literally sit up here and basically made us, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you ain't finna do this. You ain't finna wear that. But then what did that cause a lot of the kids to do? Consistently do it. Or I remember seeing girls sneak. Like, they couldn't wear lashes or nothing like that. Soon as they went to school, they in the restroom putting on lashes. And then after school, they snatching them out, cleaning out their eyes before they get home. So the whole year they done had on lashes, you didn't even know that unless you popped up on them out the blue. But come on now. Or, you know what I'm saying, when it comes down to, for example, piercings and stuff like that and different types. Yes, I feel like that you have to be mindful and careful and guide your kids and just hope that they respect you enough to, no matter what, tend to want to be rebellious and go against the grain. That's why it's always good to not only have structure, but it's also good to have respect in the process. Because, for example, my daughters have piercings. I started allowing them to get piercings, you know, when they was 15 years old. And I'm going to be honest with you, like, I take my daughters to go get the piercings. Now, when it comes down to the piercings, it's only a certain limit that I'm going to basically, you know what I'm saying, like, allow them to get. You know what I'm saying? And I have a rules and regulations. But yes, I'm going to take my daughter to go get a piercing in her ear because you know why? I don't want her to do it herself or go to somebody who do it and then she get an infection. All because, you know what I'm saying, you know, she wanted it that bad. Now, granted, if I say don't do something and you still do it, it's definitely a consequence to it. But at the end of the day, I don't want no child to risk their health because they want to express themselves through their looks. Now, granted, I do agree with her when it comes down to so many parents can be so caught up in their child looks and how they present themselves versus their schoolwork and stuff like that. I ain't raising no fly dummy. And that's just how I rock. Because at the end of the day, your upkeep definitely should not be in comparison to your grades. I think that was kind of, I mean, the crazy thing about it, I used to think like that back in the day. I ain't gonna lie, I used to be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? What you want this for? No, but you gotta think like that. Why is the kids' grades being compared to how they're looking? Like, far as like you keeping their hair done, they have nice clothes, you know what I'm saying, they're presentable. That shouldn't be in comparison. What I will say should be in comparison is, no, you ain't finna be sitting up here and I'm buying all these materialistic things, far as like your games and you going out and giving you an allowance and stuff like that, and then your grades are dropping. Your grades is not up to point. But I do feel like that we definitely need to come up with the times. Yes, it's always a way that you can compromise with your teenager to not only have them to express themselves, but then also keep it safe, nice, and fun. It might take baby steps, but at least if your teen see that you're not being so close-minded, then they won't be so eager to, one, wait till they turn 18 and spiral out of control and do everything that you didn't let them do when they were 13, 14, 15. Or two, you know what I'm saying, like, I can't remember the two. Or two, you know what I'm saying, they can actually see that, okay, my parent will compromise with me and everything else like that. For example, like she said, long nails. Oh, these girls 14, 15 wearing long nails. No, you should definitely let your kid know, listen, you can't have fake nails. You can't have fake nails. You can't have fake long nails. But what we can do is we can give you an overlay. You know what I'm saying? We can paint your nails, you know what I'm saying, and make sure that they get, you know, healthy or whatever. I can take you to the nail shop so you can still experience that. Or even if you allow your kids to get, you know, your daughters to get acrylic and stuff like that. Okay, but we're going to have it short. You ain't finna run around here like you SWV with your nails, hoochie nails all the way down here, you 14. But what I will allow you to do is basically, you know what I'm saying, get a, you know, kind of get a short look or whatever. That's what we can do. But we definitely need to understand that, you know, it's okay to compromise with our kids. This is not 1955 and da-da-da-da, where 13 or 14-year-olds was wearing barrettes. No, it's a new time. It's always good to level it out. Even when it comes down to the wigs and stuff like that. And then we have to be mindful before we start judging, you know, kids and stuff like that with the circumstances. Because I remember even when I was in school, I had a way to express myself. My mom did not want me to cut my hair into a mohawk. I remember I wanted to cut my hair off like in a pixie cut. Sophomore year, I was like, Mom, I want this mohawk. I want this mohawk. So she did not want me to do it. But then you know what she did? She said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take you to a beautician so it can be done right. Because I hate for you to sit up here and attempt to do it and then you be jacked up. Because let's just keep it real. That's a reflection of me. And I'm going to have to deal with it while you trying to be eager to do it. But what I will do is I will take you to a professional. Let them cut your hair into it. But it's up to you to maintain it. Cool. Anybody that know me knew I had a mohawk sophomore year and I maintained it. I learned how to, you know what I'm saying, mold it, keep it up. And then my mom was like, she loved it. You know what I'm saying? Because it was kind of like, she was like, okay, you're showing me that you're mature enough to not only keep up with what you like, but you know what I'm saying, like, you just didn't get it just because. And that's what you have to do. You have to allow your kids sometimes to express themselves in different type of ways. I remember my daughter, she wanted locks at 7, and I remember telling her, I was like, you're too young, but I would say this: if you still want locks by when you turn 10, I will get you locks. By the time she turned 10, she still wanted locks, and you know what I did? I let my baby get locks. You know what I'm saying? I allowed her to do it. And then she kept up with them like 3 or 4 years, you know what I'm saying? And she ended up, you know, taking them out. But nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. We gotta, I mean, what's you guys' opinion on that? Because my opinion is the fact of that we have to compromise sometime with our kids. It's a lot of things that these kids are doing. It's just a new generation. I'm not trying to say that we have to obey by it and we got to give into it, but you also have to understand when you sit up here and you have a dinosaur mindset when it comes down to your kids and how they want to present themselves, then definitely be prepared for them to have to go through a phase of humiliation sometimes, or they're losing their self, and you know what I'm saying, they don't know how to express themselves. It's a lot of things even now that my kids do and wear, and I be like, what in the heck? Like, I would never, or my mom would never. And I'm just like, they was like, Mom, you're the mom. You're the mom. You make the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, or at the end of the day, it's kind of like, what was you doing when you was a teenager? Like, then you did. And I'm just like, wow, you don't want to turn into your parents. That's the funny thing about it. We be saying we ain't gonna do this, but we end up turning to our parents when it come down to be so judgmental, when it come down to our kids expressing themselves through their clothes and hair and stuff like that. But we need to allow them to have it. I'm learning too. I'm not perfect. I still, you know, kind of snare up at some of the stuff that my kids do or wear. But I can't, I had to leave it alone because I was just like, what in the world? But then it's the same way with me. I was just like, how did I feel when the outfits that I wanted to wear and the things that I wanted to do or whatever as a teenager to express myself in looks, how did it look, or, you know, how did I feel? And I just feel like as parents, we just need to monitor and advise. Definitely, it's okay to just be stern on your belief. If, like she said up here and say, a 14-year-old should not have a lace front. But we don't know, you know, we don't know some people condition when it come down to their hair. You have some people running around here with alopecia, you know what I'm saying? You have some people that have a scalp disease and all types. It's a lot of things that go on when it comes down to how a person present themselves when it comes down to their looks. So you thinking that, for example, and this is a prime example, I promise to God, this is a true story. I was in elementary school. I would never forget this. I was in elementary school. This girl had a wig, like a big bouncy curly wig. Now remind you, we're 4th and 5th graders, y'all. We 4th and 5th graders. So the kids decided to, like, you know, like, this little boy, he was kind of bad because of course he was bad and he was a troublemaker. So somebody had told him, I dare you to go over there and snatch her hair off. Do y'all not know this boy went over there to where she was sitting at, minding her business, talking to her friends at the cafeteria. He took the wig off and then threw it to the side And the girl literally ran out the cafeteria and started like crying. And y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I was so heartbroken. Like, it was somebody, I didn't know the young lady, but I just remember after that, I started sitting by her at lunch, like, you know, every day after that. But it just made me think, like, first of all, her hair underneath it, she had like spots and stuff like that. So it was kind of like she was dealing with some type of hair condition. And it was just kind of like for them to pull that cruel joke and to snatch, for him to snatch that girl wig off in front of the whole cafeteria, and then you have kids laughing and pointing at her, and then she runs out in humiliation. That is extremely a lot. And it's kind of like, that's how I sit up and say, we got to be careful when we are looking at certain kids and, you know, and how they present themselves or whatever, and just assuming that, oh, okay, they're fast, or, you know what I'm saying, they parents trying to raise an influencer. That was funny to me. I ain't gonna lie. She right. Because you do have some people that take pride in their kids looking a certain type of way. They want their kids to look some type of way. But why are we being judgmental on that? I ain't gonna lie. Like, why is that such a big thing that they want to dress or they want to present their kids a certain type of way? We don't know what their childhood was like. You probably dealing with a person that grew up that had holes in their shoes and clothes and shirts and stuff like that, and they remember being bullied. So when they have kids, yeah, they like, yeah, I'm gonna make sure my kids is presentable and look nice no matter what. And now y'all sitting here talking about some that's out of line. So what do you guys think? I ain't gonna lie, I know I gave my opinion, but what do you guys think on that? Do y'all feel like that it's getting out of hand with how these young kids are presenting themselves for as look, or you're for it? Or are you against it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Is you being like, I ain't going for it. You know, I stand on what I'm saying. You know, my kid can't do this, can't do that. Or are you one of those type of parents like, I'm going with the flow. I'm going with the flow because I know how it is. I know it's hard out here for a kid. They wish with they rent-free behind.